We spent a lot of time talking about the news of the day, the scandal of the day, and looking forward, and that's a good thing. I'm not saying that you're wrong for that or that I'm wrong for that. It's normal. We wake up, what do we want to know? We grab our phones and we look, what's the news, what's happening, the world, the local, it's important. But what's also important for all of us is to look back from time to time, because that's where all the lessons are. Me personally, in your personal life. For me, personally, I look back on all my screw-ups in life. Not that I've stopped screwing up in life, but I look back and I think about it. Not to beat myself up, because that's where I learned. That's where I grew. We have to discuss the Joe Biden presidency really quickly, not because we just feel like feeling bad, but because it explains where we are and it explains the people in our midst. And that's really what we're going to have this talk about, you see. The evil people who spent so much time abusing us, especially over the last few years, they're all still there. And most of these people, the politicians, the media people, they're exactly where they always were. They may have changed their tune. They may have come around to our side, at least they've claimed, but the evil people who have abused you without end for the past few years are all still evil, and they're all still in the exact same position where they began. So let's talk about Joe Biden. Because what Joe Biden did to this country, look, there's a chance, I have to be honest with you, I know it's a little dark, there's a chance we won't be able to recover from it. We don't have to look further than immigration, honestly. The Trump administration's currently pulling their hair out every single day, having to justify this, a judge blocks that. We're talking about small deportation numbers here. We're talking about a plane full of 200 people, and the Trump administration is jumping through hoops every day to try to justify sending them home. We have about 19 million plus to go. And why do we have so many? Because Joe Biden got elected president, or selected president, depending on who you talk to. They installed Joe Biden as president of the United States of America. And this mean old dementia-riddled jerk wasn't strong enough and didn't care enough to hold back the most evil elements of his party. And so the communists around him, the Susan Rices, the Lisa Monacos, Victoria Nuland, these people, they did what evil communists do. They opened up the borders of this country and they brought in as many murderers and rapists as they possibly could to try to burn down the country. And now, here we are. We have a Trump presidency, and I'm glad he's there. By the grace of God, he's there, but he's not going to be able to deport 20 million people. We may never recover from Joe Biden being president. We may never, look, there are forks in the road you can get to in your personal life where you can't ever go back. There are forks in the road as a country where you get to them and you may never be able to go back. I remember, like it was yesterday, you've heard me talk about this before because I will never forget it. I remember when the President of the United States of America stood up in front of the entire country and on camera told us he was losing patience with us.
Over 200 million Americans have gotten at least one shot. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us.
Now, this is not about vaccination, which is, of course, what he was talking about there. This is about the office of the presidency. I'm going to ask you something. In the history, the entire history of the United States of America, we're almost 250 years old, and the entire history of this country, can you name for me one other time in this country's history where the United States president said something like that to the American people? Just talking down to them, really honestly, threatening them? Our patience is wearing thin? I'll tell you, I'm not the world's foremost expert on history or American history, but I know a bit about a bit. I can't think of a single other example, Republican or Democrat, in the history of this country, of the American president scolding the American people with a veiled threat in that way. Joe Biden, it was a fork in the road. Which brings us, of course, to the other part of Joe Biden's presidency that will loom large in everyone's minds for really ever. I'll tell my grandkids about it one day. My kids will tell their kids about it, which obviously are still my grandkids, about the fact that we elected or selected a man who was not a fully functional adult. And for 4 years, we had to endure in front of the entire planet. Remember, the American president, whether you love him or hate him, when he speaks, the world listens, and the world they'll judge us based on him. For 4 years, we had to endure this.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare, the beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lake. And I had a nurse named Pearl Nelson, military. She'd come in and do things that I don't think you learn in medical school, nursing school. She'd whisper in my ear. I couldn't understand her, but she'd whisper, she'd lean down. She'd actually breathe on me to make sure that there was a connection, a human connection. End of quote. Repeat the line. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was in the foothills of the Himalayas with Xi Jinping.
Those were a small sample. But it's not just that the President of the United States of America was not a functional adult. It's that person after person after person after person, without a care in the world for their country, told us that he was doing great.
First one, I talk to President Biden, regularly, sometimes several times in a week, or usually several times in a week. His mental acuity is great. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity is declined is wrong. He's going to win the election because he has a great record.
And I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game. And as Secretary Mayorkas said a minute ago, when you go in to brief the president, you better have your big boy pants on. And this kind of sense that he's not ready for this job is just a bucket of BS that's so deep, your boots will get stuck in.
Not only is he fit to do the job, he's doing a hell of a damn job, right? If he was weak, he wouldn't have been able to rally our allies to support Ukraine against Putin's aggression. Right? He wouldn't have driven the economy to such great success.
He's absolutely 100% with it.
President Biden was nice enough to call me. And I can tell you, this was the day before that interview, I can tell you he was sharper than anyone I've spoken to.
And of course, that last loser there was being interviewed by none other than Jake Tapper. And that's actually the point in this whole thing. Jake Tapper and his ilk. Jake Tapper presents himself constantly as a reporter, a journalist, of course. And Jake Tapper, speaking truth to power, spent 4 years telling us this.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
It's very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have I can't. That's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline. President Biden embraces his stutter, talking about it, while Trump mocks it, exaggerates it, belittles it. He's sharp physically. I mean, mentally. Yeah. I think the question is physically, right?
Right.
More so?
Right.
Right. And the guy who's his chief opponent is only 3 or 4 years younger than him. False claims to the Wall Street Journal about President Biden's mental fitness and acuity. He's 81, and his memory, it doesn't seem great. It's not horrible, but I don't understand the outrage.
4 years. Jake Tapper ran cover for Joe Biden because Jake Tapper's a Democrat, Joe Biden's a Democrat, and the United States of America didn't matter. And now Jake Tapper wrote a book talking about Joe Biden's decline. For 4 years, they covered as a president of the United States of America drooled on himself, and now they're making a fortune selling you a book about the entire thing. You see what I mean about all the people, the evil people who've abused us, being right where they've always been? They haven't moved on. Most of them haven't been fired. By the way, Jake Tapper isn't alone. There are currently 4 books being written about Joe Biden and his decline. Books being written by people who never uttered a single word for 4 years while the United States of America was led by a dementia patient. One of them, author at The Hill, Amy Parnes, well, said this.
Do you believe that Democrats hid that Biden wasn't up to running again?
I think every Democrat has a story, and we talk about some of that in here, where they saw President Biden not in the best terms. We detail, for instance, Congressman Swalwell, who was there looking at him. They came face to face at a congressional picnic, and the congressman had to cue Biden as to who he was. This is someone who ran against him in 2020. He's very vocal. He's out there. Someone like President Biden, in Biden's heydays, he would know who he was. He didn't know. We have other details in the book about a makeup artist coming in on his international trips to kind of prep him before meetings with foreign leaders. We have all of these details in the book. It's a really fascinating read.
Very, very fascinating. I can't wait to go out and pay my hard-earned money to pick up a book by a reporter who couldn't be bothered to do the reporting when it mattered. But now that it doesn't matter anymore, now that it doesn't cost Democrats at all, now, of course, we need to fill up her bank account. This is a reminder, not about Joe Biden. This is a reminder that the evil people who have abused us without end, almost all of them remain exactly where they have been. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.